Yo, what up, Street Talk, Street God, Street Vlogs, or Kim in the house, right? Some, lots, how to think critically. What does that mean and stuff like that. So, thinking critically and fulfilling your potential. What is power? Power, potential, also to be able to, I can, anyways. So, critical thinking. First of all, critical means kritikos in ancient Greek, which is judge, right? And I think the best way to think about critical thinking is whether or not you deem something as worthy of you or not. And also, I think critical thinking is also, when you think about something, it's like, do you care for it or not, right? Courage, curate, heart is all the same word. Have the courage to think about what you care for, I suppose. So yeah, I think some poetic ways to think about it and consider it is when it comes to critical thinking, being able to think like carte blanche, blank slate, first principles. I think one of the great strengths of Elon Musk is his ability to think first principles. So, for example, co-founding Tesla, or turning Tesla into what it is today. He's like, just take things back to first principles. It's like, okay, traditionally car dealerships have been done X, Y, and Z, or car companies have built X, Y, and Z. If you built a car company today totally from scratch, how would you do it differently, right? Like, what would you do? What would you not do? And to me, that's a very important distinction, because typically, and then this is the reason why I don't like the Japanese in terms of innovation, is also the Germans. They think too much by analogy, right? It's like, let's take this pre-existing product and let's just keep indefinitely trying to make it better. So it's kind of like the Kaizen approach, which is also good, but maybe this is where I am a true American innovator, in the sense that, like, my passion and my interest is to just like look at things, right, and then try to critically think and judge whether that's how I want to approach things or not, right? So for example, with weightlifting, right? So like, typically you guys do X, Y, and Z lifts, and maybe a Kaizen approach is like, oh, how can we keep, adjusting it to getting better at these lifts, right? But I think what I'm interested in is like, should we even be doing these lifts in the first place? Like, yeah, right? And like rethinking the whole methodology. And like, maybe this is also where philosophical thinking is also good. Like, so for example, rather than thinking like, it's like, before you do something, you gotta do research on it, right? So doing research seems like a sucker's game, because once again, you're essentially thinking about analogy, or you're trying to like piggyback off how other people think. And then like, for example, with weightlifting, sooner or later you go on bodybuilding.com is be like, oh, do X amount of reps for this and that, and chest day, pull day, blah. I mean, it's like I think the better way to think about it, like kind of more critically, harder, more precisely, is to like sit down, think. It's like, okay, like, why do I lift weights and what is it for, is kind of an important consideration, right? So it's like, why do you lift weights? What's the point of lifting weights, etc. And also on top of that, like, what is your goals, and like, what do you want to achieve? So for example, for me, it's all about trying to like hype myself up and to build courage. To me, weightlifting is all about courage, right? Like, the reason why the typical kind of bodybuilding, weightlifting doesn't really interest me is doesn't really require any courage. It requires tenacity and grit and fortitude and churning out hateful reps, right? But it doesn't really require courage, because like if you're doing weightlift, like traditional body, like quote bodybuilding, hypertrophy, it's like use like essentially you just have to like grind your teeth and just keep doing the shit, right? But it don't take courage, because you'll do it if you just put enough effort, right? Whereas with powerlifting or hype lifting, as EK calls it, right? I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen before the fact until after the fact. And I think that's what's personally interesting to me. So like, this is why if I have already done something, I have zero interest in doing it again, because it doesn't really interest me, right? And stuff like that. And maybe also when it comes to notions of power, right? It's like curiosity about your potential and what you could achieve. Like, well, Atlas lifted that what, like 905 pounds. Like, this getting ridiculous. Rack pull 800 pounds. It was like, this is like just crazy, right? And then like, and also I think the big way to innovate is also to change your notions of quote success. So for example, even for me, even if I can move it half an inch, even if I like don't even move it, but I've given it like my all full power, to me that's a sign of success. I think typically when you're like following other people's standards of what is successful, then it is a poor way to live, because you're a slave to the external metrics of others and what is successful, what isn't successful. So you essentially need to create your own metrics of quote success, and then, or just even detaching yourself from the notion of success, right? Like, so like success is such a modern day capitalist consumerist notion. Like, for example, Achilles, right? Who, kind of he's like the least bad. Like, I like Achilles, right? It's like everyone wants to be Achilles, right? Like everyone wants to be Achilles, right? And did Achilles care for quote success? No. All he cared was for the lust for battle, revenge. He's just like single-mindedly driven by that, right? Whereas more like, and I think that's also where it's good to study, like ancient Greek literature, the past history and stuff like that, because you kind of get a better sense and benchmark of what is other past life goals and stuff like that. And it I don't know, I think it just gives you a better sense of things. I think infrared is a good color. So yeah, I think with critical thinking, then it is to like really just kind of deem what is worthy or not, what do you care for or what do you not care for, create your own judges and standards, measures of success, and don't listen to no external audio. Hot sauna and go to the gym, think for yourself.